shortly. Creating a credit note in the system is fairly simple. It is a two-step process though. You can go to invoicing credit notes, or you can go to invoices. You can go to either one to create a credit note. Usually what I like to do is go to invoicing invoices and find the invoice that I need to credit back. So if I'm clicking on the invoice itself, on the right-hand side, you'll see a credit invoice button. What I want to do is hit that button and it'll ask me, are you sure you want to credit this invoice? So if I'm doing it this way, the system is automatically going to credit back the entire invoice I raised. I can manipulate it, but if I don't want to credit the entire invoice, I might want to just go to invoicing and credit note and just raise a credit note for a specific line item. So you kind of have multiple options. For this, let's just say I want to credit the entire invoice. I raised it too early, or the customer decided that they no longer want to go forward with this agreement. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm sure I want to credit this invoice. And it's going to bring me to the following screen. So it's going to ask me what the credit note reason is. I can say client was overcharged, what the credit note type is. I can say human error. You can write any comments associated with this so you can report on it at a later time. And then you're going to see it's crediting back. This negative amount is going to be removing basically what you charge them from the system. Now I can click the edit button and I can update just a specific amount on these line items that I want to credit back if it's not the entire credit. If I want to credit back the whole invoice, I'm just going to hit preview credit note, and it's going to bring up a screen much like your invoices. It's going to ask me for a date that you want this credit note to be issued, so I'll use today's date. You can see that it's crediting in total back the tax, everything else that I've raised, and I'm going to approve this so it's no longer in draft. Now in accounts receivable, you'll see that there's a credit on the account, and I can email or print this to get it visible on the member portal and so that the customer knows that I went ahead and issued them a credit. Now, if I go back into invoicing and accounts receivable, again, this is kind of a two-step process. If I click into IT Dudes again, you will see that the balance is 0. However, if I scroll down, both of these credit note as well as the invoice still have an outstanding amount. Remember, the client only knows that they don't have to pay an amount if the outstanding amounts show 0 here, because that's how we integrate with the payment processor and let them know how much they should be charging the customer. So the second step of a credit note, and don't worry, I know this is a little much, so we will be going over these a couple times in our one-on-ones, is you're basically going to create another payment to allocate the credit note to the invoice, much like a payment. So I can say today's date, the reference is going to be credit note allocated to invoice 3. The GL code I can keep as bank. Payment type, I might say that this is an offset. And I don't want to put anything in account paid, because amount paid means that the customer paid us. And at the moment they didn't, we're just issuing a credit. So what you want to come in here and do is I'm going to issue a negative amount here. Hit the tab button and you'll now see that the outstanding amount for the credit note goes to 0. So what I'm basically doing is removing the credit from the credit note, and I'm now positively adding it to the invoice, if I did that correctly. And now you'll see both outstanding amounts are 0 because I basically removed the money from the credit note, added it to the invoice. So now nothing is owed under each of these. So I'm going to hit OK. And we can now see that all of the outstanding amounts equal 0. So the customer is going to log in and not show that they owe for this invoice anymore.